perks.
Yeah.
No team, of course, is perfect on short yardage. You all were great early in the year. I guess the irony is the running game is humming now, but you've had a couple of higher-profile short yardage stops. How much do you, Frank, Eric, talk about the question of, do we just impose our will and do what we've had success with Ollie on short yardage, or do we try to trick teams? It's sort of like a fundamental question. How do you navigate that? Do you think much about it?
Well, I think in general, as you're planning to play an opponent, your starting point is, can you execute an earned first down, and then the elements. It's the risk reward. How predictable are the things that you'd be attacking on a trick play, for instance? You go through everything, and the objective is to get a yard. And every time I call a play, before the play occurs, with no information, just kind of blind to the situation, or blind to the pending result and the call they're going to make and whatever, you're making a call that you think is that we can execute. Why do you think we can execute it? A multitude of reasons. But the great thing about football is I love moments where I know my job a lot of the times is not to be Nostradamus. It's to do the right thing based on the information that I have. And particularly when you're in short yardage, if you're a head coach and a play caller, you're faced with situations that the decision has to be on the information, void of the pending failure or success. You can't live it and hope. You can't just, I hope we're going to get it and do something with that regard, or you have to make a decision on what the play is based upon a calculated, prepared reasoning. And I like doing the right thing, knowing that if it doesn't work, I see that as my job. That there's also 11 human beings that are sentient individuals that somebody might want to try to make a play, and that might be good or bad, or all those things. I think it's just important that you assess, and you're not stubborn about it. You're humble about it. Like, I could have given the ball to the same player and done a different scheme, and it's unknown, but it's better than not working. So you try to assess. And if you have a group of people, like our team, and you believe in each other, like, everybody knows you want to get a first down. Is there something I can tell Ollie in the future, or do I need to fake it to him a couple times, or all things? I'm responsible for the direction, and then we go and attack the situation the same. And you can't be delusional either way. You can't just assume that it's going to work because you've had success before, or be scared and it's not going to work because it didn't work previously. So ultimately, we're working to execute. We've had 2 games in a row where we've had failed fourth down attempts, and those are critical situations. And you don't go forward on fourth down unless you believe that you can get it. So then what do? You come up with a plan of action. You communicate it to the players. They practice it, and their practice conviction that sets your compass for how aggressive you can be. And if they believe in the scheme enough to earn it through practice, then you go into the situation, and if you can win the game in 1 yard, you go for it if it makes sense and it's not irresponsible. So all things are on the table. The failures are real. In the National Football League, you don't hide from those. We have had success earlier in the season, but you don't gain interest and have success. You got to earn it. And so I think I have a coaching staff and a group of players that are accountable that will attack those situations, because we got to be better.
Mike,
Third and 4 near the end of the game, Tua runs for 3 and slides. Sorry, I wanted to get this in. Third and 4, he runs for 3 and slides. Obviously, you want him to slide. You want him to avoid contact. In your opinion, is that a green light, have to have it situation where he does not need to follow the guidelines that are usually in place?
Yeah, I wish. No, I don't wish. It wouldn't be as fun. But like, I don't. You don't coach off of abstract, like here's a note card for how you approach scrambling. You have to coach. You're coaching retroactively for the future. So in that particular one, that's a great one to bring up because that you have to communicate with the player. You have to, I try to forecast what he's seeing and what he was thinking, and then I directly ask him, and then I get feedback. What I thought I saw, it happened. He confirmed it. In that situation, he wasn't trying to slide. He was trying to dive forward. So then I coached, in situations like that, when you're trying to do that, and we discussed how you have to keep the ball above your waist. I showed him kind of just like why it appeared to the side judge, and it could be you don't leave it into the officials' hands, but they interpret it as a half slide. So then you address that particular situation, and then for scrambling in general, like there's a relative like risk reward, like throwing a contested ball. All right, the situation as the quarterback of the team that has the ball in his hands, and you're trying to win the game. How important is that yard? And that is an imperfect thing that's very difficult to do, but you're trying to assess that, and you take your chances when the chances are necessary to take. My starting point in football were the Denver Broncos, and John Elway did the helicopter, and everyone was wowed because they'd never seen that because it was in the Super Bowl. And if there's a critical third down, you have to adjust relative to the risk. And he was trying to dive forward, and we've got to articulate and assess and work on how to execute that in those tight pockets where you're in that fringe territory, and it's a big deal if you get the yard or not.
Mike, sticking with Tua for a second, it seems like some of his best days were when he would take a snap and then drop back, fire within I want to say 2.2 seconds roughly. Is he holding the ball in general? Is he holding the ball too long these days, would you say?
So anything in regard to the play of Tua at the quarterback position, and we've seen he's displayed how it looks for him when he has supreme ownership of everything going on, and we know what it looks like when he's in a groove, and we know what it looks like when he's not having his best day. The answer is never just all right, super easy, one thing that it's always, there's layers to a lot of things, and you're trying to find patterns where his play, which it's never completely absolute. There was two plays in particular against the Saints that looked as elite of his progression pocket pass play as he's had it. I'll tell you, it was play 40 and 46. You're trying to look at those plays. You're trying to see if there's a play reason, a visual reason, controllable from scheme, formation, how things are going, and then reverse engineering it like that. How can we get that play more consistent on every play? And there's all sorts of different variables. All the math is always changing for quarterbacks. One play is never the same as the other. But the end all is there's the play. He knows what it feels like, and we know what it feels like when we see it, when it's fitting within the offense, and he's distributing the ball and being the ultimate point guard, and we're tough to stop when he's doing that. And it's the collective's objective to not just him. All right, you go over there and you get better. We're all gonna just wait for you. It's a collective of everyone improving, and you don't know if it's like this. What if it's a indicator step on a certain break that gives him that much more conviction that it looks the way that we know defenses can't stop. Collectively, we're all working, trying to iron a game out, but generally, we're trying to find patterns and get him the most comfortable so he can play the most comfortable. I don't think it's as easy as one little thing, but I do think it's not absolutes either. Of he's playing this way and then he's playing that way. I see both within games. So that means there's problems to solve that he has to obviously solve his controllable portion of it, and we have to communicate, work together, and get our players the ball more frequently in space like we're accustomed to.
Mike, Jordan Brooks has about 20 more tackles, I think, than the next leading guy in the NFL. I haven't worked with him in the last 2 years. What stands out or what makes him different at that linebacker position?
Okay, well, it's the best way I can frame it. It's rare that a quiet, business-like, serious, focused person becomes almost the voice of your team. That process is really cool because the quiet guy doesn't talk until people are asking what he has to say. He's doing his job. He's relentless. He's tough. But it's rare you're given the gift of being on a team with a person that's so focused, so tough-minded, so relentless that you can count on his 100% every day. So after doing that for a lot of days, he became, one of the main pillars, became a captain, and, hard-pressed that anybody's voice is heard louder because of it. It's continued plays he makes. He's not walking around any different than he was a month, 2 months, 3 months ago. He's walking around trying to fix the couple times in zone defense that he thought he could have got depth and not get high load. He is, it's inspiring, man. And I think when teams are led by players like that, there's turn the page and you have a play style that keeps you in football games, that makes you very, very difficult to beat because you're relentless and each player that's on the field, whether he's on the field with them or he's watching them while they're on the field, and it's the opposite phase, they don't want to let them down. How powerful is that? I mean, I can't say enough about the guy. He's whatever credit he gets, it would be completely feasible if you gave him more.
Is that one of those things where, because he comes from the Seattle Seahawks and you don't have a chance to be around him every day, do you know that going into signing him, or do you learn that about him when he arrives here?
You know that he has a will, and you know that on game day you don't see a loaf. And then you rely on a lot of times you're relying on when the player comes out in the draft process and piecing together stuff like that, but you don't have, up until that point, I don't think Jordan had the platform. You'd have to ask him. I don't want to speak for him, but it's again, you're a talented guy that's very, very serious about your job, and yeah, but I'm not sure if he's jumping up trying to make a speech or do all that. But the math changes when people are asking you and people care about your opinion. And then as a competitor, when something isn't right, he didn't hesitate through the off season or since to voice it. And I think he's had the opportunity to become a greater version of himself, and I think it's incredibly important to every young player and every player on the team to watch someone who takes advantage of an opportunity like he has, where he goes about his daily work and people follow him, and so that he ends up putting in even more work because he understands the responsibility that's there. So it's been a really, really cool. It's always really cool when you feel like someone has earned something and other people are starting to notice. This is a guy that the players voted captain, and he was the second highest vote getter on the team. And a lot of people, maybe a lot of people didn't know who he was in the league, and you'd hold down the league's lead in tackles for however many weeks, and then people learn who you are. So, I think he represents a lot of things that I truly believe in, and there's he's not just falling into this production by happenstance. He's earned it, and he's earned the regard and strain of his teammates that there's a lot of guys keeping him clean to track and make tackles in the interior defense, and a lot of people being on the responsibilities so he can play his gap with conviction. And the group rallies around that and knows he'll make a play if everyone's doing their job.
Sewell
Against the Jets, Darren Waller had a big game. Second time around against a divisional foe, how do you balance going back to a matchup that really worked for you, but also considering that opponent might be making some adjustments to try to stop specifically that?
Yeah, I think the trickier rep for me is not being irresponsible to him and the organization, to everyone about the first week back, and knowing that he was able to play and finding in game. It's just tricky. You have a plan, and then you don't, and you have to just make sure that you don't overcook them. Realistically, for him too, I think he was fired up to get that game, to feel good about the game, to win the game, and then to get through it, because then you can approach the next week with more knowns. I think he does. What I've learned from him this season is I can put anything on his plate, and if it makes sense in terms of alignment, assignment, he will own it by game day. It's very important to him. He is a professional through and through, and I think the guys get excited when he's back, and it's a little easier now to more fully incorporate him with reason, just because you have that first step out. It was important that I knew he could play football at a high level, and you don't want to, because of your excitement and his capabilities, put him in a situation that the advantage isn't his, and mess with any sort of confidence that guy has. He's a big part of our team, both as a person and a player, and he'll be involved, and it'll be a little easier to get him involved this week, based on that last game experience.
I wanted to ask about Devon Achane and kind of how he compares to just playmakers that you've worked with in your career, especially among guys where you've asked to do a whole bunch of different things.
I think that that was the exciting thing about the prospect of I kind of knew on the onset that I hadn't really had a player like him exactly. Every player's unique, but with him, that a lot of people, profile him, off the rip as like he's smaller, so you assume all sorts of things based upon the size and speed of other players that aren't Devon. And what I noticed, from his college days is that he was never taking hits on directly, which when players do that, it means the game's really slow for them. It means that you can see a lot. And there's like some natural football talent. That's a skill, not just being fast or having good hands, but that's a skill of avoiding direct tackles that is very impactful when your job is to move the ball forward. But you're not seeing a player just with skill. You learn about him over time is that he's trying to be great. So I think the work ethic tied to the skill set, it's exciting because, I don't think he's very confident, but, some of the stuff that he's capable of doing, he hasn't got to see himself do it yet, I think, in NFL game. There's a lot more meat on the bone, and if he continues to, take advantage of opportunities like that, you just get more opportunities, and his ability to play convicted in tight quarters and getting yards after contact really changes how we're able to play football, but it also enables him to stay healthy while doing it, because he's able to avoid a lot of the big shots, because guys get pretty mad when a fast guy is making them miss. People intend to hit him pretty hard, so he's able in his game to take advantage of it. And I think no one's surprised by where he's at, and the best is in front of him for sure. But I think that what's been a game changer is he's not an independent contractor. He is so tight with the offensive line. He's a dynamic person that is just scratching the surface in that regard too. But he has players playing for him, trying to get that extra strain. You can see, every rep that Julian Hill has, he's flying around somewhere trying to get that last influential block. But all the guys really take pride. They know he has an ability that if we just leave one guy for him, he can make a miss. If their guy's blocked and not pursuing, that's where we get the big plays that he's always capable of. We were able to do. I think the first drive that was an example of that. But he's I keep saying really good things about him because he keeps giving me really good things to say.
Rasul and Minka mentioned a fine system within the DEB room. Just how much do you know about that? Have you heard of anything like that before? And is that significant?
Well, if you're ever towing the line of CBA stuff, what? No, that's a very routine thing. You have, in terms of like position groups, it's a way to hold each other accountable, and generally they do little pots that are off the books. I know that, and they utilize that whatever the pot is at the end of the season for something that they predetermine. So I think it's more of a competitive thing than anything. Generally, it's not like generally it's a whatever you amount to $1 fine that you would notice but you wouldn't freak out about, and it's the intent is that guys want to hold each other accountable. Guys want to have certain things from their position group in particular. You see how the way Minka plays, and you have and Sewell's the same way. And to get the group playing in a connected fashion, there's certain things that you have to say. Okay, we're not. If we have a reroute responsibility, you're getting hands on, or it's that. If you're not running to the ball, it's that. So that the group can have a play style that is complicit to what they're trying to get done. I have a saying: unspoken expectations equal premeditated resentment. Very proactive in how we go about business, and that's another example. I think that's why it's invaluable to have guys like Minka.
Mike, Sunday's game, is that 1 of 17, or is it extra spice because it's Dolphins and Jets?
There it is. Jets. Yes. So, it's the only thing is the Jets. I think it's, you don't know until you're in it. Obviously, there's a long history in fan bases, and just in general, when you play a division opponent that prides itself on effort and strain, they play hard. Those games are really exciting. That you know that the preparation has to be real. I think, the biggest thing in this building that I can't say enough is the only thing is that we're playing a game where at MetLife we're trying to end the game with more points than the opponent. We're trying to win, and everything else doesn't exist. It's all fictitious. If you want to participate in everyone's fictitious lands, all of it has to do with whether or not you are able to beat this team. So it's a division games in general, and it's fun to play in December against a division opponent. And when you have been building your confidence and you have a style of football that you're excited to play, it gets more exciting. I think their team, the Jets, are experiencing some momentum as well, and that just makes for a more competitive, exciting game that's going to be full of effort, and there's going to be some hard hits, and there's going to be some good plays, bad plays for both sides. Takeaways will probably the winner will probably be in the plus, but overall, that's the only thing that exists for us, and I think this team, we've learned how to think that way, and everything else is a setup, good, bad, whatever. I think it's hilarious that there's charts about the playoff hunt and stuff with 6 and 5 weeks out. I'm not sure if anybody's paid attention, but things go crazy in December and January. You just got to play your opponent, and then after you play that opponent, you can assess if your play will help you or you need to improve it to play the next opponent, which you guys can fill me in on who that is later because I have no idea.